What's going on, everyone? So Mulan is unfortunately not in theaters. It is on Disney Plus for $30 right now, but in December it will be on Disney Plus for free. This is a movie that I'm not going to get into the premise because you probably already know about it if you've seen the 1998 original film, which I'm going to say right off the bat, the 1998 original film I watched in preparation for the remake, and I enjoyed it. This was a movie that I actually watched many times as a child, and maybe it's because of that reason alone as to why I was really pumped for this remake. The original was a movie that I saw many times as a kid. I really did. You know, a lot of people rewatched like The Lion King or Aladdin or, Beauty and the Beast. I was someone that always just went back to Mulan. I thought it was a very interesting tale. I really liked the intrigue of China, and it actually brought me to be really invested in Chinese culture. I think that also the fact that the remake was a movie that, in advertisements even, it's like, okay, we're not having the musical numbers. We're going to try to be different from the original. Those reasons alone made me excited as well because, again, while I enjoyed the original, I think that it is important that if you're a remake, you have to stand out somehow. You can't just be a shot-for-shot remake the way a lot of these Disney movies have been, or just like, being nostalgic for the sake of nostalgic. So I was excited. Based on the trailers, it looked like it was going to hold up on its own. And I will say right off the bat, I absolutely loved the makeup. I loved the production design, the costume design. It's very detail-oriented, very delicate to say the least. And the cinematography is also nice too. I mean, you got that, based on the trailers, but it really is nice. It's a beautiful looking movie. But I mean, that's where the positives end, unfortunately. I was I was very disappointed by Mulan. You know, I would say one of the biggest disappointments for this movie is that I'm always preaching about originality. I'm always preaching about standing on your own in terms of differentiating from the original. But if differentiating means taking heart, soul, interesting characters, interesting story, interesting action, pacing, there's an issue to be had. I mean, this is a movie that is very problematic, I feel like. First of all, it's dealing with false feminism, which is basically fake feminism if you don't know. This is not an actual, in my opinion at least, feminism movie. This is a movie that is trying to disguise itself for the masses. But there are a lot of problematic things with that. I'm not going to go too in depth with that. But I watched this movie with my girlfriend, and she even said it. She's like, yeah, this feels like, I have to be like this. I have to be like a superhero or have the chi in order to be like, as good as men. And it's like, I understand where she's coming from because I do see that as a problematic issue because I took that away too. I was like, wow. Again, not every mainstream movie can be like Widows or Annihilation where it's actually fully fleshed and three-dimensional in terms of trying to serve that message. But I just feel like there is just, unfortunately, a conglomerate where a lot of movies are trying to do this, where it's just coming off very fake looking. Another movie recently was like Birds of Prey. These are movies that are trying to disguise themselves that really aren't genuine. And speaking of the fact that she's a superhero, I mean, right off the bat, she is someone that is invincible. And when you're watching a character that's invincible, it is very hard to be invested. It really is because there's no room to grow. And that leads me to the characters. The characters are very dull, unfortunately. From Mulan to all the supporting characters, there is no one that interested me, even in the slightest. And that's a real shame because you have a great cast. But the cast is very wooden with the material that they are given. The dialogue is very cringy at times. It truly is astonishing with how cringy this movie is in terms of the dialogue. Characters do things that I always say characters, humans are just kind of like flawed beings that sometimes do things that don't make sense. But when you have characters that are doing things that don't make sense, add it on with the layer of the fact that you can clearly tell it's just done for the sake of the plot and not the characters and the motivations, there's an issue to be had. There are things that characters do, specifically one of the villains, that just doesn't fully make sense. And I might get into that, later on down the line in terms of this review. But speaking of the villains, they're very cringy. The one villain is just so laughable. It literally is, yes, I know it's a Disney movie, but is literally like from a Disney cartoon. Which, again, probably shouldn't be if they're trying to go for realism. Which leads me to the realism factor of this movie really isn't that good. It's trying to be a wannabe Crouching Tiger, but without fully encapsulating what made that movie so great in the first place. The action scenes are very dull. I get it that it's PG-13, but I didn't really think that they were well choreographed because, again, You don't care about really these soldiers or the people that, are occurring around them, which is problematic in itself. But again, the way it's choreographed also is just not that interesting. There's a lot of hidden cuts and everything to where they're trying to make it so that way it's not too graphic, which again, I guess I understand because they're trying to cater to people that are, 13 and older. But at the same time, it's like, come on, like you want to make this a visceral movie if it's live action. Also, I'm always talking about score in movies, and I always usually say like a movie's like solid score or, oh no, that was great. Mulan's score is very bland. It's very forgettable. It's a real shame. There are no tracks in this movie that I will ever listen to again. It's a movie that is very by the numbers score. I was very surprised by that, truth be told. I also thought that the pacing was very disjointed. I understand that a lot of these Disney remakes have that, unfortunately, but this movie especially felt really wonky in terms of the way it was outlined. There is also the story being very surface level, which again, I understand that you're catering to the masses and you want to have something digestible, but there's no real moral questions. There's nothing to really grasp onto that makes this a thought-provoking movie. And I get it, not every movie has to be, especially since, like I said earlier, it's a movie that's catering to the masses, but you still want to have something that you can grasp onto and chew on after the movie, other than all the issues that are had. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple things that I didn't like about the movie, but just going to wrap this up now. Mulan, I think it's a very disappointing movie. I think that, besides a couple of the technical aspects, it's a movie that falls flat. The acting is very wooden. Very wooden, unfortunately. You have a great cast, though. Actually, speaking of the acting, I just remembered something. My girlfriend mentioned it, and I didn't believe her at first, so we ended up rewatching the scene. There's a girl 5 minutes in, like a child actress, 5 minutes in the movie, who has a British accent. Why does she have a British accent, but the rest of the family doesn't have a British accent? I don't understand. I rewatched the scene. I was like, yep, she was right. It's a real shame. I don't understand it. I really don't. It's a $200 million movie. Like, how does this happen? But anyways, wooden acting, unconvincing, oftentimes just bland action scenes, character motivations that are just on a dime, lack of, dimension to these characters, fake messages that really feel forced, unfortunately. And just overall, Mulan, I'll be giving it a 2 out of 5 star rating. So, yeah, no hot sauce rating. I know I'm giving it a lower rating than Aladdin and, like, Lion King. But I'm going to say this right now. If I could go back and review those two movies, I would give them both, like, a 1.5 or a 2 out of 5 star rating. I don't know why I was nice and gave those movies a 2.5 or a 3. But anyways, I want to talk a little bit in terms of spoilers. So, you guys saw my review. That's nice. If you guys want me to talk about spoilers, here it is. And I usually don't talk about them. I really didn't like several of the things that they did with Mulan. I really hated, with a burning passion, what they did with the female villain and how she just decides to sacrifice herself for Mulan. Like, really? Are you serious? It's something that you predict 5 minutes in, and it's like, oh wow, they actually did that. As well as Mulan, where it's like, she's talking with the main female villain, and she's just like, yeah, like, you gotta show your true colors and true self. And it's like, okay, that doesn't mean you don't wear any armor in the battle. You are going into battle. Have you any idea about the fact of the matter that if you aren't wearing armor, more than likely you're gonna die? But of course, she didn't die because, it's a superhero movie. It's just very frustrating, man. It's like, with Crouching Tiger, it's a lot different because it is, hand-to-hand combat. It's, using, like, wooden sticks. But when you are facing arrows and, like, swords and everything, you probably should have armor. Just saying. So, again, it's a movie that is disguising itself as a feminist movie, but it really isn't. It's a superhero movie that feels very dialed back. And, again, I'm not one of those people where it's like the original is just kind of like it's the greatest thing of all time. No, I enjoy it. And I appreciate the fact that Mulan tried to be different, but I just thought it fell on its face. So, yeah, I really hated Mulan. If you guys have any questions about Mulan, about further thoughts, I did review it on Letterboxd. And if you guys want even more, I can obviously give you guys more in the comment section down below. But guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Mulan down below. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.